Yeah, hi, good afternoon. So this is a part of the Agile Business Leaders course that we are having. And today we have a senior professional with almost 18 plus years of experience. And to keep the conversation discreet, because people might have issues with their privacy and company being involved when such mentoring sessions are happening, and we might, so keeping that in mind, we have kept the profile as discreet. And uh, Caprius comes with 18 plus years of experience. So yes, hi Caprius, good afternoon. So can you just talk about yourself, what your experience has been, and how do you think the current course is going to help you in your career progression? So can we talk about that? So what's your journey been like? What have you done in the past couple of years, and how have you come all this while?
Hey, hi, Kiran. So I have been working for the last around 18 years now, and the overall experience spans across various banking domains, infrastructure domains, and service industry domain. So I mainly work in information technology. I work across support and service delivery for IT, as well as currently I'm holding architect position for cybersecurity, and it's been a great experience in learning across various domains, from information technology to management, and also trying to learn and explore more things. So as far as the expectation is concerned, I am moving towards a management role, and I mean I already moved to a management role, which is a portion of it is technical, and major portion of it is management skills like presentation, which is one of the most important skill set which is required. So, being from an technical background and moving towards a background where it requires people public speaking skills and all, it's not the same. However, we say that we have been speaking a lot for the last few years to various teams and people and thing, but it is a totally different aspect when you actually jump into this role. So you have to interact with CISOs, you have to interact with product owners, you have to interact with other enterprise architects. So how to be more fluent, how to convey the um, this information which you want to convey in a very short span of time, and how to present things is something which I want to get educate myself from this overall sessions which we will have. And the most important aspect is not only confidence building, but also like to understand the audience which you are talking to. So it's not only like now we are not talking to one being from a technical background, we used to just talk to technical people, but now there are different people from different aspects, like from management who does not want to know any technical things, but just what's the return of investment. Then someone who is in the same meeting wants to know something technical. Someone who just wants to say that, okay, what value will it be driving to the organization. So these are the aspects which are like need to be balanced out and presented. So that is something which I want to learn. And honestly speaking, I'm not great at that right now, but I'm trying to achieve whatever I can through various uh, like uh, working in various aspects, from how to present myself, how to present, how to talk, how to tone myself, how to present the information on the slides. So all these aspects are something which I'm trying to explore, and that's why like I got your reference, and based on that, it clicked me at the right time. So that is why I'm here now.
Okay, okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, great. So I think this is a change that a lot of people encounter when they're trying to, all those while you've been doing technical stuff. And when you try to go into the management ladder, you need a mentor or a support or a coach who can actually guide you with those additional skills, wherein you're going to be, judged based on how effective you are in terms of your articulation, your communication, and are you able to hit the right note with regard to your stakeholders. And you say X, they should understand it the same way and without any ambiguity. So yes, presentation skills makes a huge amount of difference when you actually go at that level. And like for instance, if you can present like Steve Jobs, half the battle is done. Like he was supposed to be a very good presenter, and he was able to storytell around his offerings. So I think I've been sending you and people in the Agile Business Leaders course on how to effectively storytell. So basically, how you can create some concepts or some stories around your offerings. So for instance, they said that as you grow up, an IT company which is got a large deal focus, let us say they are like they look only for large deals that will sustain their revenue. So let us say you take a call that your profit after tax is going to be 28%. Only in such deals you will actually get into. Let us say if that is a call that you take. And in that case, you can use an analogy saying that we are like the lions in the jungle, and the lion should not go after rabbits, because if the lion goes behind a rabbit, then it takes some amount of energy for it to chase a rabbit and then kill it, and then the food is so less, then he'll tire himself out. Similarly, if a large IT company goes behind those small deals and wastes their time and effort, they'll have to starve their way and not be able to make large deals effectively and have food on their plate. So this is an analogy that you can use, that we should have a focus that we actually feast upon large praise. And this is one of the ways in which you can actually provide your offerings, saying that this is one aspect of the story. So the more you can story tell, it comes with practice. The more you can actually do that, and it will help you to build your capability and your expertise when you're actually talking to stakeholders internally and externally. So for instance, you say that we have this cloud stack, we have the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, and even in SaaS, we do the networks, we do the hypervisor layer, we do the storage, we do the Dockerization, the Kubernetes, and all of this is the combined offering, which we will take care of. So we help you in shifting the load and shift. So we are like the taco bars of the eatery joints. So if you go to a taco bar joint, you get lettuce leaves, cabbages, then cauliflower, peas, and shredded meat or vegetables or some sausages. And the whole thing comes as one package. So if you want to do it at home and say, this is my health food, you have to run behind your peas, you have to run behind the cabbage and chop all of these things and do that. But here, we're giving you all of this on a plate. This is our taco bar offering. So similarly, this is our cloud offering, or this is our service security offering. So these kind of stories, when you actually put in your conversation, that gives a lot of meaning to your thing, and you are respected in the community for simplifying things. Okay, this guy is relatable. He's like he is very relatable, and he makes it interesting for us to listen to him. So if you're able to do that, and I think that can be a major part of your success in articulation and helping people understand that you talk their language, and you're able to convey your thoughts in an easy, effective manner. So that's something that actually can be done. And of course, there are a lot of other things that we'll need to look into. When you're looking at polishing your PowerPoint presentations, how effectively can you convey using less, less is more. Basically, brevity is the thing. You don't have to have a lot of bullet points in your presentation. Like they say, it's a bullet ridden corpse. So nobody wants to get into so many different ideas hanging around in a PowerPoint, and like you bore them to death. Instead of that, one slide should just contain one topic and one essence of something, and then you drive that in and then go to the next slide. So it makes it easier on the person who's listening to you, as well as their audiences. So, it becomes way a lot easier to do that. So I think, yeah, we'll talk about that as we go ahead. So I think, is there something that you want to get reviewed today? Like, I believe you had something, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I had a few things here, but
Okay, let me pause here.
I mean, this is showing my name over here. Okay.
Yes, Caprice, please go ahead.
So, I mean, just to give a context, we are, as a cybersecurity, we want to protect our organization, and we already have a lot of currently we have like many technologies and capabilities which we use in order to protect from cyber attacks, right?
Correct.
However, we are looking for a technology which can validate the current controls and technologies and detection and prevention mechanisms which we are already implemented. So what happens is, uh, we bring in a new technology, we implement the security controls, for example, a firewall, right? So we go ahead and implement a security control around it, and then we keep it. But then, as you know, that the threats are already evolving, and with this emerging threats, and also the landscape, how it is changing, very frequently. It's not that the same state will already exist and the existing security controls will work forever. We need to validate those security controls every now and then. So, in order to do that, we don't have any capabilities right now, and we want to bring in some capabilities which
Okay.
would actually measure the controls if they are working effectively as with the current emerging threats, and also if the detection mechanisms are giving us the proper alerts and proper what do you say, it shows us the proper direction into like in which we need to work on when an actual cyber attack happens. So what we have done is like, so as per the slide is concerned, for example, like um, the initial part would like show the organization state. Cannot draw it properly, but like, okay.
You can type it out. Maybe you can just write it. You don't
Yeah.
have. I think drawing might take a lot of time.
Yeah, so
Next time, I think we can come with a rough sketch of your presentation, and then you can present
yeah,
that.
so yeah, so how the first part is like the problem statement, right?
Yeah.
And we need to what is the problem statement? Then the second part is like, I don't know. Okay. Second part is what is, this is my way of
Yeah. Yeah.
thinking.
Go ahead.
So
Go
it's not
ahead.
like
I will
what is cyber attack?
tell you how to structure it.
Yeah. So what is cyber attack? So this is to explain to the people who are there that who don't know about cyber attack, because it might be a mixed audience, right?
Correct.
So what is cyber attack? How an example of cyber attack? Example cyber attack. Explain that. Then we say what do we have now, because we cannot say that okay we are just blank, right? We do have controls, we do have prevention stack and detection stack.
Correct.
And then what are the challenges we are facing?
Correct. What are the current set of breaches and violations that are coming in? What are the
Yeah,
kind of
this
attacks
is
facing? Correct.
correct.
The security landscape like? What is that we are? looking
Yeah,
at the current capabilities, what do we need to enhance as our future capabilities.
correct. The second slide, so this is like just to give an overview of what is the actual challenge,
Correct.
right? Or problem. And this is the most important slide where we need to like pitch what exactly we are facing right now. And here, what we are saying is, okay, there is a product like breach and attack simulation.
Correct.
Uh,
Talking about your red teams, green teams, and your purple teams, and all that, red teaming, all of those kind of things.
yeah, so I mean, so breach and attack simulation. So red team is very limited scope uh,
Currently, your
and
organization.
specialized individuals who are sitting over there.
Correct. If the organization doesn't have that maturity, you may not have the provision even for a red team. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So right now, like what we are targeting is not only in terms of red team, but there's a assurance team, there is a red team, then there is the defense team itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, so breach and attack. What is breach and attack simulation, and uh, how will it?
Prevent further breaches, or how will it simulate a breach and
Yeah,
proactively help
how
us?
will it help in the current? How will it help? So, at a very high, how will it help to solve current challenges, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, just to give you a brief idea, like what are the challenges which we think are the major things which we see now in our organization, for example, any organization. So, um, if you can imagine, the organization grows, right? It grows from a few systems to many systems in order to cater its business, right?
Correct.
And as it is growing, we are also been prone to attacks, and we are gathering, like capturing very not only good, what do you say, attention, but also bad intention from the threat actors, right?
Correct. Correct.
Threat actors are sitting outside somewhere. They are doing a lot of research. They are doing behavioral analysis. They are doing studying the whole organization and seeing how they can find loopholes and attack our organization. So, the organization is also not keeping quiet. It's going on and adding to its armor on the different technology stacks, from like firewall to endpoint detection to network flow, network detection and response, and all those kind of detection stack and prevention stack. However, the problem is, as these attack with like some things like generative AI, which is coming in. So previously, like 1 year before, there was no uh, place for something like AI kind of things. But now with AI is becoming so growing so fast, these adversaries are also becoming more sophisticated and faster by using that, and they can generate attacks in few hours rather than few days. So all these kind of things are creating a lot of incidents or attacks which converted to incidents. And we do have SOC analysts who are working on it. So one might say that, okay, let's increase the SOC analyst, but that is not the right solution, because even though you increase the SOC analyst, the emerging threats will never stop. They are ever increasing. So we need a certain aspect like which can drive the balance between the number of incidents which are coming, as well as it will reduce the amount of alert fatigue which is going on with the SOC analyst. And also it will help in validating the existing controls which we have. And this all,
The controls, Caprice, are you saying that it is ISO 27001 kind sort of controls, or you used some other standard to put the controls in place?
yeah, so we are using ISO 27000 controls.
Okay.
But right, even though the controls are there, they are always they can be breached. That is, we cannot be 100% secure. That is the industry standard. So
Right.
initially, like many years back, perimeter firewall was the only protection stack. But then the reason why EDR and all came in because perimeter firewall was breached, right? So I mean, yeah. So this issue is like number of incidents are increasing, alert fatigue is there. Currently we have only point in time assessments of our current technology stack. So if there are many different technologies controls which we have, and if we are doing point in time, the amount of drift is increasing. There is inconsistency between all these controls. And because of this whole reason, we want to have a tool which does an automated, continuous uh, validation of the security controls. And it also helps in correlating what exactly that attack means across the whole attack chain from one control to another, rather than doing a silo based validation and point in time validation. So that is the whole problem statement. And then what does breach and attack simulation does? It brings us, it provides a platform, either it be a hosted or a SaaS based, and it will help in providing us automated platform where it pulls in information from various threat intelligence networks, from MITRE frameworks, and it takes that information and create is able to create any permutation combination of this
The attack vector.
yeah, techniques, tactics, and procedures, and that can be automatically applied to various security controls across the organization. And this is a simulation, so it is a very controlled way of doing it. And with this, we can say that okay, certain controls are breached. We need to go ahead and check what are the gaps on this controls and update those controls. Then how, if the alerts are triggered in time, how many false positives are there, how many what is the overall response time we took for doing one of detecting one of the attacks. And this can be done continuously and with a lot of permutations combinations, which is not possible by a human. And if you take in other case, the human itself is error prone. So, so all these aspects will help breach and attack simulation, and breach and attack simulation will provide the whole view of from one control to the other control and to the endpoint where the targeted, for example, the data, which is one of the richest, one of the treasures for the attackers to get right now. So it will see tell us, it will correlate all the actions which are happening at various control points, and stitch it together to make some sense of how the attack happened and how it was detected and how it was responded.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's a good point. So what you're actually trying to emphasize as a part of selling this idea to the top management is that you need there is a real need for a breach and attack simulation software, which will proactively and preempt all kinds of such threats, so that we are well in advance prepared and all our controls are secured and they are plugged in, so that there'll be less and less number of breaches, and so that that can be so. But one thing that they can come back and ask you is, do we have a one-stop solution for a breach and attack simulation software? Because people only cover perimeter security in the cloud, or they do only endpoint detection. Somebody does only network firewall plugins. Somebody
No, so I mean, as per our market research and demos, based on the demos, so there are various ways people
attack
are
you,
looking at.
and are you hinting at any particular software as a part of this software presentation, or keeping it broad based and looking at all
No,
the
no. So these slides will be more generic, but
okay,
we do have certain slides for like what market research with what vendors we have done market research and how
Okay.
they are, I mean, what we have shortlisted based on certain parameters. But that is like not so important right now. It's
Okay.
more to do with how to convince that we need to bring this technology and we need this technology. So I would like give you a few pointers like which I need more clarity, or maybe I'm not able to answer. For example, like how will this help the application? So application guys know that okay, we normally for them the security is like okay, we are getting some SOC alerts, and the other thing is whenever they want to onboard a new application to a public cloud or the organization infrastructure hosting platform, they need to do some vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So those are the 2 points areas where they come in touch with cyber security. So I mean, so they know only about that. Uh, from uh, from this tool perspective, this is more like a security uh, uh, security team perspective, right? So it's only used by security to validate their own controls. However, it has to have some what do you say, some value or return of investment for application as well as business, subsequently business, right? So that is something which needs to be shown. And then the other aspect is uh, the major question, like from a very CISO level question would be like, uh, so you are saying that we have controls and those are not good. So that is something. And the other thing is how do we measure the efficiency of each control? Like for example, a firewall is being, though it is there, but everybody's an application comes and say, okay, let's bypass. We want to have this working. So most of the rules are like a bypass rules. Are we using that investment to the right level? So these kind of questions might come. These are the major three questions. So first is like how
Yeah,
the
I can actually foresee a few other questions also. That is, one is the universality of a tool across basically all the n tiers of an architecture, backend, front end, database, and so you might have get breach and attack simulation tools in some places, and even though they are there like that, then the other question would be how does the breach and attack simulation software cover the entire landscape of your real production servers, like in the patch levels are there, and you might actually do it in your own, the comfort of your labs and in the comfort of your simulation environment. But how does that mimic a real-time, end user environment with actual browser level patches? And let us say you got log4j violation, which was there detected by Apache, and in your patched environment you might actually be putting the right one, but in an actual situation they might not be having. If you've got 1400 installations, all of them may not have those patch levels. So those kind of attacks, those kind of questions will come. One is, of course, will you have one-stop solution for this, or for your breach and attack simulation, are we going to say that we're going to pilot this project and it will be across multiple phases like database, hardware, software, network, edge security, perimeter security, browser, web tier, app tier, all of that sort of stuff. And then you'll piecemeal take those kind of, or you'll say we'll actually first do it. This network security is where we are encountering a huge number of breaches currently, or is it at the app layer that we are encountering too many of them? So based on that pie chart, you can actually say these are the breach and attack simulation software that we're planning to use first at the app layer, then at the network layer, then at the OS kernel layer, and so on. So you will have to guide them through that, navigate them through that. Otherwise, they will shoot around these kind of questions and try to say that our existing controls, are they not enough? Can we not just patch those guys up? Can we not write new network proxy servers in between? And can we not create some network routing tables which will mask and publish only some non-existent ports to the outward facing world, and we don't have to really expose our actual networks to anybody. So all of those kind of things will come up. So what is you'll have to have a good defense to say that you have done your homework with regard to the breach and attack simulation software that you are actually proposing, and what is the way forward for that? Because if you just present it like that, you can be shot down with these kind of questions.
Right. So, I mean, just to give you a glimpse of what breach and attack simulation offers. So, there are many different vendors providing different, I mean, they're using different ways. Some are agent based, some are API based, some support integration with all the detection stacks, some do not support integration with
And
this.
if
So,
there is
we,
a performance overhead with this also, you'll have to kind of factor that. One is the licensing, one is the revenue impact, one is the performance impact, and additional training and resources impact, because these will have agents which need to be monitored. So you need to have some SOC analysts who are continuously monitoring. So that might bring in a new additional resource crunch to this whole situation. And then publishing those reports, acting on them. Then, there could be a whole lot of things that would.
yeah, so I mean, we are don't want to bring in those problems because that might backfire us in removing this product itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we want to show is like what benefits it will. So, for example, it might so it indirectly it might increase decrease the number of incidents which are there. So I need to know that okay, if I'm simulating an attack against a firewall, for example, and it goes and attack the number of attacks it permutates and this automate against that firewall. Am I receiving that many alerts in my alerting system at that same time? Did I miss certain alerts? Those reporting will then this will help in proactively like optimizing those alerts, proactively seeing if there are
But
any
your attack
controls.
surface, they might ask you, your attack surface is actually having so many different vector components: network, database, hardware, software, firewalls, load balancers. So where are you going to start with this breach and attack? Is it going to be localized first? Will you pilot it and then take it to a bigger scale? Or you already found out this is where one way to approach that would be take a list of all the vulnerabilities and the breaches that have happened in your current history of probably last 6 months data. You take it, create a pie chart, and say that this is where the maximum number of attacks have happened on the app layer, network layer, database layer, and perhaps the operating system. So just put a red, green, yellow there and say, okay, this one is red because this is where the maximum number of attacks have happened. And this is our game plan to contain all of these attacks and bring them down to a significant, respectable number, for which are breach and attack things. So you're actually going down with data, to real data with your top management, and once you go with data, people will not challenge you so much as opposed to not going to them with data.
Yeah. So I mean, data is one of the things which we are working on, but it's very difficult to get from the respective teams. But
Yeah.
so one thing which I wanted to understand is, first of all, how to start with the problem statement.
Yeah, problem statement is, you can say that due to the current vulnerabilities and the current breaches, this is the loss of revenue to the company, loss of goodwill, and this is our company's reputation is at stake. So you can put all of those parameters in one slide and say, what do we tend to lose by not taking care of, and loss of business also, and loss of revenue, and eventually it is like a sinking ship. So, and cyber attacks these days are quite proliferated, and they can come from anywhere and any surface. And, there are multiple exposed surfaces that are potential threat vectors from which threats can originate. Then you can say that we have collated the CVE database, and these are the kind of areas from where the breaches are going to be there. And that makes us a very strong case for, although we are doing a good job of controls, and of course you tell them that you are actually doing something really significant and bring out that, so to boost the morale of the CISOs and the CIOs, so that they don't feel that you're actually bringing them down by suggesting something radically different. So tell them it's already doing it, but although if you can automate that thing and you can simulate it, so that we could actually contain those errors. And also talk about the Gartner hype cycle, saying that in the current Gartner hype cycle, breach and attack simulation is a key parameter that is there on top of the charts. So if you see that is that's what should consume the mind space of a lot of decision makers. So if you're not doing that currently, then in the age of generative AI, attacks can come from multiple, data points from multiple different areas, which will probabilistically hack into your system and saying, okay, these are the exposed services for this XYZ website, and then try to forge those attacks and make inroads into that. So you can actually bring a case, build up that story like that, and say one small attack cost so much of downtime, so much of this thing for our company. And if you can actually simulate, then the next question will be like people, money, resources, and technology. What is the cost of it? Who's going to fix these things? We cannot just say that we'll use the software. So if they say, yeah, with this software, yes, we'll. You also give them a rough estimate of how many people are required to, you need 2 SOC analysts for this or 1 SOC analyst for it, or a member of SOC analysts, then probably a project lead. And then we need to have an SLA with the breach attack company in case there are new virals, new signatures of the breaches which are found, which are not immediately solvable, then what's the SLA turnaround time. So if you can actually go with them with all of these things, of course, in spite of these, you will still get a lot of queries from the top management, which you can still take them. But at least if you've done this level of presentation clarity, they'll be like, oh yeah, good, this guy has already done his homework, and he seems to be providing a very strong case for presenting it. And then you can actually put one slide on resources, money, people, time on each of them. So like how many resources, how many licenses do we need in the cloud, on-premise, hybrid model, how does this work, all of that sort of stuff. And these are the potential solutions. So we will float a tender, and then see who makes the best business sense, throw it open to the board, and then the board come back which what they have actually suggested. But this is what we feel could be the indicators which will actually help us. So, you can actually present it that way, so that you're coming up with a problem, saying that what is the so you can actually draft your story based on what we have just now discussed. And once you have done that, you craft your presentation, then we'll review it and then organize it, so that you are actually going with a strong use case, and to the management, so that they are able convinced, and they should be able to help you make the buy decision or build whatever it is.
Okay.
Makes sense, right? What I'm talking about.
Yeah. It makes sense. The only point is getting the data.
Data, or even if you don't have the full data, at least say that whatever past breaches have happened in the last 6 months, 1 year, where have those breaches been? Because they'll say, okay, how many times have you got attacked by this particular problem that you're talking about in your presentation? So is it at the app layer? Is it at the database? These are the kind of questions they will ask you, and for which you'll have to have answers actually. So last 6 months, 1 year, this is the data. This is where we got attacked. Or every day, our Nexus software, Nexus scan, the network scan is detecting that there are 10,000 hits on our web ports, and out of which we have been efficient in turning them all of them away. But in spite of that, there are 2 or 3 genuine looking like actors who get into the system, and they cause havoc. So which we are actually controlling at the next level, or some such kind of data you give them, so that it doesn't look like you're just canvassing for buying this thing, but there is a real use case for why you're doing it, and how you can actually ease time, money, effort in the long run.
Okay. So see, the major aspect over here is like, I mean, if you can give me some hints on. So this tool itself, it does not directly interact with applications, right? So what does it? An application is there, for example, a web-based application. So that application, if you see the flow, it might be fronted by a WAF layer. Then it is going back and it's entering the network. So it will be fronted by a firewall. Then it will be having a server in the backend where the web server is running. And then Yeah, I mean, just for this example, so at each layer we have like, for example, on the server we have an antivirus software, endpoint detection software, and then we have at the field this firewall layer we have the rules and firewall rules. Then we have a WAF layer, we have the what sites are malicious, what like how, what is the traffic coming in, is it malicious or from some like vulnerable IPs. Those kind of things are blocked, for example, right? But what this tool does is it goes and does a simulation against all these controls, right? So I want to be able to show, even though it is doing the validation and simulation against these controls, but eventually it will have a major impact on the overall security posture of the application. I mean, just making this statement would not support it, because they want more, something more, which we observe. So I mean, a better way to depict this, saying that, okay, even though we are validating and doing the validation and testing or at each controls and then optimizing and this, how does it help the application teams to, I mean, how does it support them? How does it help them in overall aspect? What is the return of investment if, say, they are the investors in this?
Yes, okay, that is a good point. So because people are going to ask, okay, if it is, if we're going to purchase this breach and attack software, what is in it for us? How is it going to benefit us as an organization? So you'll have to have answers with this. And as you said, how is it going to help the app team to fix their vulnerability assessments, and how is it going to help them fix things on their side? So what you can do is, you, whichever tool vendor you want to simulate, you can ask those tool vendors to they have at least 10 to 15 very solid use cases. So you can ask them. So if you figure out that this is a breach and attack simulation problem that you're actually having, and what is the kind of use cases that you have, can you send us a use case presentations so that we can use that in our presentation to our top management? So you can ask them to send that across. So let us say that they found out in the log stack there is some personalized information, and once you have the personalized information exposed in a log file, then he can actually use that and then try to log in and create a login into the SaaS-based application. So you can just create a small mini story, taking one point from their tool, whichever the breach and attack software simulation that you're looking at, and ask them to give a use case so that the application teams will have work to do based on that observation. So if you can put that and embed it in your presentation, and most of these vendors will have at least 5 to 10 very solid use cases that they will actually be saying that this is for this
So
this.
I mean, I mean, they can. I mean, so the next question would be like they ask us like, I mean, we are now also we are doing vulnerability and penetration testing when we are onboarding, when we are doing any changes to the application. So how will this tool help?
Yeah,
Because
this one
we're
is,
having
so you
some.
have to pick up a use case wherein behind the scenes, now how are you doing it? You're doing some static code analysis, you're doing some Nexus scan, or you're doing some dynamic code stuff. But here, using the simulation software, let us say that tomorrow we patch up one of the servers, or we deploy a new microservices in the landscape, and we didn't have time for, let us say, your static code analysis or dynamic code analysis that you had. So you just deployed a new microservices in the environment, and this simulation software is going to just throw up and say, he's going to show a red flag saying that, okay, these are the vulnerabilities that are exposed out there, and you need to fix it immediately. Otherwise, it is so those use cases you can actually check with the vendor as to what is those strong use cases which developers couldn't capture, which testers could not capture, but it can be caught dynamically on the fly in production. And such kind of things you highlighted, saying that this is the thing that this software is going to find out as a means of simulating. And one more point is, when the attack vectors become a lot in the whole environment, you don't have the you can't have a SOC analyst sitting there and trying to monitor everything. There is 10 different logs, and some things are read in 2 logs. So his eyes are not manually trained to look at those 2 logs. So if the tool can actually graphically analyze them and bring them to the forefront, then you say that is the single most advantage of this particular approach, that it doesn't require manual intervention, but it is completely automated, and that's how you sell your story.
Okay.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So you can actually tailor your argument in that fashion. And so if to make your use case strong, you'll have to use that approach, and for which you sit with your vendors also and figure out, what is the kind of use cases that you have. As you said, everybody is doing vulnerability fixes and patches and all that, but how are you guys different? Based on, when you say breach attack simulation, how is it going to help automatically? Because as the deployments increase, the number of threat areas increases, the threat exposed surfaces increases, the network interfaces are more. And so once there are more and more threat surfaces that are exposed, so how will you kind of fix them, patch them? So do you have an automated way in which you can do that? Are you going to do some kind of a Splunk analyzer, or you can come with them and say, how are you going to, automate this so that somebody can take quick decisions at his fingertips, rather than, even today we are fixing patches as in when we discover them. But how is this different? Or how is it going to solve? So it doesn't require a guy who's sitting all night and burning. It doesn't require a SOC team. Probably they can take off, but it doesn't require manual intervention. So if you can build up the case like that, then it becomes much easy to canvas your stuff. But there should be some differentiation in what you're proposing as opposed to the current problem statement that you've actually done. And if you're doing that, you should be able to sell your case well.
I mean, do you think there is any analogy which we can fix with this? Like, I mean, some simple analogy which
some simple
relate
analogy
to
could be
them.
something like, you found out that, let us say you've deployed a SOC team to check your Splunk logs and then act on it and fix the vulnerabilities. So let us say that you are catering to an online store which is selling perhaps some electronic goods across the world, across many different geographies. And you have a SOC team which is sitting centrally and monitoring all the logs. And maybe at any given point of time, there are 10 different logs that are being churned out from the app servers. And in two of them, there are issues in red that needs immediate action to be done. So you can say that, it's humanly impossible for a SOC analyst to keep checking on the logs unless you automate that. And the analogy is that, when we are having increasing number of threat surfaces that are exposed, we need an automated SOC analyst. So although we have a team, which was the old order of doing stuff, but in the age of generative AI, wherein new threat surfaces are getting created by the day and our exposure is increasing, we need a more automated solution. And this is what is going to help us fix and preemptively, proactively be able to fix all the, breaches and attacks. So you'll have to build up your case like that.
Okay.
But you need to have a very strong case to say what you're saying. Because let us say if you're just a small time retailer to whom you're trying to solve the software, his logs are exposed in 2 or 3 places, it doesn't make sense. But if you are a large company, which is, let us say, working for the government, and the government is having multiple installations of the software in multiple geos simultaneously, and it's impossible for somebody to lay their hands on them and check what's happening, then you propose a solution. It makes a lot more easy to canvas your case. But you should have a strong case to say that, you are actually having this issue, and then for that, this is the solution.
Yeah. I mean, building from like how the organization was and how it is increasing, and what are the things
Should actually have a real need for this kind of a complexity. Otherwise, it is more of an academic exercise that, for your own intellectual thrills, you're trying to push is what the decision makers will believe. There's no real need, but this guy is he's so fanciful about this, and he feels the need for it, but we don't see need is what they will come back on you.
Right.
So once you would actually have this kind of an approach, so I'll share the recording with you. You can actually tailor your presentation on this, and then slide by slide, I'll tell you how to arrange and build up the story so that it's convincing to the decision makers, and you're able to get a buy-in on this.
Okay. Okay, I think that's good enough. I mean, the overall discussion was quite interesting and educative,
Sure,
especially
sure.
certain points around.
I mean, it's very difficult to get mentors like this because I know people who actually know the end-to-end stories like this. They are all mostly VPs, directors in companies, and CIOs, CTOs. So they don't have the time to mentor like this. But then I've taken this path of coaching and mentoring so that I myself had have seen the value of mentors in my career because somebody who gives you an external validation, it makes your life a whole lot easier to take decisions. So I've seen that in my previous companies wherein I got external validation saying you do this, you do that, then yeah, okay, it helped me fix my perspective. So if you are able to get a mentor, you can actually go to the next level quite easily and with not much effort as opposed to somebody who learns the ropes and goes through all the challenges and then fixes it all by himself. Because I have an acquaintance of mine who actually is now a director in the last two companies, and he says he became a director because of his ex-boss, who's still mentoring him on a day-to-day basis. He'll tell him do this certification, do this kind of presentation, read this white paper or that. So if you're continuously having that, that makes you a lot more, puts you in front of a lot, helps you get to good speed than the others. So I think that's the basic, that's where I felt that there's a real need in the industry to have this kind of a mentoring across multiple, work streams like architecture, agile, enterprise architecture, solution architecture, cybersecurity, design thinking, lean startup. So once you are able to connect all of these dots, then you become a very good technology leader. And I think that's what is my endeavor to help people achieve that. So I think I could see that it's adding value to a lot of people whom I'm talking, and so I think that is what it is.
I totally agree. Like, I mean, as I said earlier, like in my introduction, that I mean, it clicked to me at the right time because I was expecting, I was in a situation.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
totally helpless. You're asked to swim, and you don't have a proper swim equipment. So, and you're not swam
yeah,
in large, waters which are
yeah. So,
very turbulent.
and there's a lot of assumptions, right? I mean, I mean, self assumptions are also like quite, it might have a negative impact on your like career and on this. So we were expecting ourselves like, okay, I mean, we have done a lot of presentations, but those were like quite limited audience, limited scope, and more, for example, as per our background, technical, right? But now, the moment you switch gears, it's like you are into totally different uh, area, and the more like emphasis is on how you what do you say, send the information uh, to the audience rather than what is the content. So content is still important, but how you send it and how people I mean, take it or feel it is something which is more important right now, and those drive the overall what do you say, uh, the endorsements which you get from different people. So, I mean, even though we do have certain mentors which are there, but as you said, like it is something which I mean, depends on how much time they have, and at the right time you need the right advice. So that is something. And somebody in an organization who is quite busy and all, he might mentor you one time, or he might mentor you every day, but it's not at the right time and not so detailed.
Correct, correct,
The second aspect is like, how do you practice? So people say go home, start a video, practice it, but there is no feedback loop in that,
correct,
honestly speaking.
correct,
So I
correct,
can practice it 100 times, but 100 times, because I'm my own, what do you say, um, and there's a human tendency to appreciate yourself, right? So I mean, if I go at 100 times, I'll appreciate myself. Okay, I've improved, but that's not the right feedback which I'm getting. It's some third party or the third person who needs to evaluate and see. Okay,
then you really jump to the next level very quickly. You're like, oh, great. Because that level of information dump has happened to you so quickly that you're able to save you on your time and energy and a lot of things. So it's going to take you far more faster than you would have got individually there. So I think
Right,
yes, it's
right. So
great.
I mean, okay, if we just off the topic, if we can discuss certain things off recording,
Sure,
or
sure. Okay, I will actually stop the recording right now, and then we can continue. Thanks, Caprice. I think we look forward to the next one where you're going to be presenting stuff. So otherwise, I
yeah.
think thanks. I'm just stopping the recording.